welcome to Faith and Flavor. We hope that you're having a great day on purpose, actually. Sometimes that's hard to do, is to have a great day on purpose. Sometimes we have a lot of stuff going on that makes it really hard for us to focus on a different purpose other than the boulder that seems to be sitting in front of us. But I'm thankful today I don't have my accessory I've had to wear for the last several months. So thanking God for that. It's doing good and coming along nicely. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that they could do the repairs because there was a lot of injury in there. So I'm thankful that I can move my arm and that they could fix it. But even if the doctors couldn't do it, I know God would. I know sometimes God used the miracle of medicine for the miracle of life, and I'm okay with that. I'm also okay if He heals it instantly. So sometimes, though, He might have to slow us down, and maybe that was part of it. But um, today I want to read from Psalms 55:22, and it says, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and He shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." And I know sometimes that people read scripture and they feel like it's just scripture. We've heard it all of our life, but I'm still going through the same thing. I'm still facing trials, but that as I'll cover in the scriptures, like in First Peter 5:7, it says, "Cast your care upon Him, for He careth for you." Um, Care in the King James has a lot of meanings, right? But um, King James, in times of like that you need care, would relate to things like distractions or anxieties, distractions, that kind of thing. But what I really take from that particular scripture is that He careth for you. He's mindful of you. Um, by definition, in the word, careth means that He's concerned, to take interest, to provide for, pay close attention. Um, but what I recognized is it careth is a continual word.
Yes.
So it doesn't say that we won't have these things come up, but that He is continually mindful of us. And I know that that's hard to, when we feel so, first of all, we're all carrying boulders that really weren't meant for our hands. It was meant for God's hands to carry. It wasn't meant for our shoulders to carry. And as a massage therapist, I have a lot of people that come in, and I can tell when they're under stress because it literally, in most cases, shows on people's shoulders and in their upper traps and those and the muscles that are involved in that. And so I automatically know if that person is stressed. Now, I don't know if it's from their job or whatever the stressor is coming from, but I know that it's stress. And it's really sad to see how many people, including myself sometimes, that gets weighted down with so much that they feel like it's very hard to breathe.
It's interesting because the very first massage therapist I went home and I was like, she did not have a clue what she was doing. I mean, this was horrible, right? And by the second, I went to the second one and I'm like, it's me, because they're like, you are so tight and so stressed. I can't give you a massage that's going to benefit you. And I realized I was like starting to place blame, and no, it was on me because I do that. And I had a situation where I'm literally holding the cross of my hand, pacing the floor, saying, okay, believe to receive, believe to receive. But I kept doing it back and forth, and I think God was tired. It's just like, will you stop?
Well, the good news is we might get a lot more weary, and God, I'm sure, doesn't. But if He does, it probably takes Him a lot longer than it does us.
Like, oh my
goodness. But if we understand that, even the word cast, right? In the first scripture that I read from Psalm 55:22, it says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He shall sustain you." That doesn't mean like, okay, God, here, I have a problem. Literally, it means like, here, this is not my problem. And it means to hurl or throw your problem off. Don't keep it on you. Don't let it keep you down and keep you depressed and anxious. yesterday morning, actually, I got up and I was struggling, and I was like, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm really having a hard time just to get a breath this morning. And it was an anxious, and I recognized it as anxiety, but it seemed like everything that I tried to do to get my head off of it, it was just so present until I could get my head off of it. And I woke up this morning being able to breathe and get a breath. And I don't know if, you know, how many of you guys walk through things that you feel like you can't even get a breath? It is so debilitating.
And isn't it weird? I always wonder, like, yesterday when I came home, I'm standing there literally doing nothing. And my watch, is a blessing and a curse because all of a sudden it shows me that my heart rate is like just astronomical. And I'm like, why? And there's so much internal stress that we're carrying that we don't know. And until we are willing to seriously release it to Him, I mean, release it and walk away,
Right.
it's going to weigh us down. And it literally is like carrying that boulder.
Well, and one of the things that I actually even wrote here was part of the problem is that we're trying to carry what only God was meant to hold. And some things are just so heavy that it feels even like it's so heavy that we can't even hand it over, because it's so weighty on us. But weight will crush you, not in a good way. I know that sometimes you can crush flowers and they smell great. I believe God will use our crushing, but it wasn't meant to crush us. I do know that God knows the outcome of things. And if we realize too that, well, another thing that I wrote here that I think would really bring a point home was we honestly were not made to, we were made to bear fruit, not
Mhm.
burdens. And so if we realize that, um, with the weight, if I was to put and roll a big boulder over a fruit tree that was smaller than the boulder and it rolled over it, it would crush it and it wouldn't be able to bear fruit. Maybe eventually something would shoot up from underneath, but um, it it makes it harder when we allow the boulder to roll over us. So we have choices. We could hand it over, or we could roll it over to God, so to speak, or we could let it
Let it
roll
roll
over
over us.
us.
Yep, yep. And that's the thing because, I keep telling myself the anxiety and the worry is adding nothing to the positive to your day. And yet I do let it weigh me down. I mean, my dad used to say, you make me tired, because he was like, seriously, let it go. I mean, the old let go, let God, and easier said than done. But like you said, if we would just remember, that we weren't meant to carry this. And I used to say I was going to joke. I was going to say, if you pray, why worry? If you worry, why pray? I was going to like tattoo it across my forehead because it is. It's just something that if we could release that one thing, just imagine what our lives would really be. And I mean, there are times that yeah, you can have some good quality fear or anxiety, but to let it weigh us down and burden us is
Right.
where the issue comes in.
I think. Well, first, we're gonna. I'm gonna try to do this here really quick, and we're gonna get it in the oven, and then we're gonna come back to what we were doing. And could you look over there and bring me that everything bagel seasoning? Thank you. Um, this is our little pepperoni something something. I see these things on social media and I'm like, oh, that would be good for the broadcast. So quite honestly, I don't even try these before you get them most of the time. Sometimes I try them just because I've done them before or I like it looks good and I want to try it right away, which doesn't happen very often. I do try to save it for the broadcast here. But so this is just your pepperoni. In this case, I use turkey pepperoni because, well, it's healthier, um, and a whole lot less fat.
And
So,
this is Philadelphia cream
so
cheese,
this
right?
is Philadelphia cream cheese. You could use whatever brand, but in this case, actually, it was marked down, so I bought it. And then this is everything bagel seasoning. And then I actually do have a little bit of a method to my madness. So, however the pepperoni is shaped, like this one is shaped more round, whereas this one has like a little bow to it and a little roundness. So, I tried to pick the ones that kind of looked like each other. And then, like, this one has that little curve to it. And so the one down here does. And so I just kind of press it on there. And then I'm putting it in the oven at 375. Maybe it's 350. We're about to find out.
That's
Hopefully, we won't burn it. And I don't really even know because the social media didn't say how long to leave it in. So we're going to try 5 or 6 minutes.
peek at the time. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want to forget pepperoni. That would be a rough
I'd hate to see what it looks like.
smell in the house today. Um, Sometimes, like if we look at Psalms 55:22, and it says that He will not suffer the righteous to be moved. Like I said before, it doesn't mean that you won't bend like a palm tree. It doesn't mean that showers won't come. It doesn't mean that you won't kind of be docile sometimes, because I think there are things that we face. A lot of people say, how can God let things happen to people? I personally don't believe God lets the bad things happen to people because it rains on the just and the unjust.
Yes.
That's the word. But He does sustain us, right? And so how we respond to the problem really determines a lot of the outcome, because we know that the power of life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And I'm not going to get into that because I am going to cover that in a couple more podcasts. But um, we do need to understand that we are His righteous, right? There's a scripture that in the Bible that says He's never had His righteous forsaken or a seed begging for bread. And if we know that He is with us, even in Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness." In the scripture, the right hand represents strength, authority, and victory. And righteousness is a covenant, um, like God's covenant present and helping us to bring forth our authority. We are made righteous through Him. Um, we're made victorious through Him. We have favor through Him. And so righteousness is God's perfect justice and covenant fulfillment. So when He is holding us with His hand of righteousness, He's technically saying, listen, I've got you. I am the strongest hand to uphold you. I have the best grip possible on you. I'm holding you from a place of authority. I'm holding you from a place of strength. There's no enemy that can override anything, no matter what the boulder feels like to you. He cannot override his God's grip is backed with His covenant. That's His promise. And listen, if I make a promise to my kid, I'm going to do everything in my power to keep it. My power is human power. His power is omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He is ever abiding. He is ever with us. The ETH in careth is continual. It's His covenant, and He does not break His covenant with His people. Um, even in the Bible, when He got so mad at the children of Israel before entering the promised land, which they didn't because of the disobedience, but He did preserve um, a few that were able to go into the promised land, Joshua and Caleb, and the ones who were less than 20 years old, and that had matured to almost to the full age of 20 in the wilderness. So if we understand that, even they made Him so mad that He was going to disinherit them. That is the word in the King James Version, that He would disinherit them. But Moses stood there on their behalf, and through different things, telling them, don't do that. Pharaoh and them, the people of Egypt expect you to keep your word, basically. And so He said, okay, I won't disinherit them, but they will not get into the promised land. So sometimes if we carry our own boulder, we have responsibilities that we bring on.
Right, that we brought it on ourselves.
Yes. And so, people automatically think that, well, God did this to me. Well, no. If you have power of in life and death in the power of the tongue, did God do it to you? Or did we speak it?
There's all, I mean, you have to be obedient, but there's also free choice, I truly believe that, God's got a time that we're leaving this world, but He didn't tell me to go stand in traffic to say it was my time. He gave me, common sense and, to do that. So, but I mean, He's also a God of forgiveness and He wants us to succeed.
Yeah.
And I used to always think, oh, I'm not worthy. Well, I have to be worthy because I'm His child.
Right.
And so to put down yourself is saying that God made a mistake and He doesn't.
Right.
So, and like you said, the biggest thing is too is, and I've always been told, it's 10% how you handle it, 10% what happens to you, and 90% of how you handle, the frustrations or the anxiety or, woes of this world.
Truth. If we use your same analogy of standing in front of a bus or traffic, some people say bus, but let's just say traffic, and let's say, a car's coming at you and it doesn't kill you, I'm pretty sure it injured you. So we can use that same analogy to say if you want to keep holding a boulder, there are consequences of that. If you want to keep speaking death through your tongue, there's consequences to that. Is that looking yummy? Yeah, about 2 more minutes. Just before the podcast is over. I can't wait. That's even like even if I think about those the I don't even know what they're called, pepperoni somethings. We'll just call them pepperoni majigs. It sounds fun. But even if we think about that, in order for it to be cohesive and to make whatever it is, there's a process, right? We went through a process.
Ooh, like it's going through the fire, like we have to go through the fire to be refined.
Yes. Or we could eat that pepperoni right by itself. I could eat it just like that. But if I go through the fire, it comes out a little better, at least in my opinion, right? But in a few minutes when we take them out, I'm actually going to have some ranch dressing, right? And so we're going to dip that in the ranch dressing, and everything tastes better with butter or ranch dressing or bacon, right?
I'll say you gotta get the bacon in.
So we already know that. I didn't put bacon on it though.
But it's interesting because, like you said, you could eat it raw, but then the crispiness and the flavor is kind of like, we start out on this level, but if we give it to God, then
Right.
the more flavor, the more, we have.
Yes. And even the more stuff that we are entrusted with. So in this case, I could eat just crispy pepperoni, and that's good too. I like to pull it off a pizza and do that sometimes. Ask my husband. I'll be like, "Are you going to eat that pepperoni?"
You're one of those pickers.
Or if I know I'm going to get rid of and not eat the whole pizza, I know already I'm just going to be like, if that's going in the refrigerator, we probably aren't going to eat it, and I'm going to eat pepperoni off of it. So I love the crispiness of the pepperoni, but how much better are things when we add a little bit more? And so, yeah, we could have good things in life and we could have good ministry and all that stuff, and I believe all that. And we can come from a total place of victory and never have issues, but that's probably never going to happen, right? Even the best men in the Bible had failures. They had things happen. They had trials and tribulations. They had natural, physical distractions and sicknesses and all of that stuff. But God still used all of that for a testimony for them. It's their flavor, it's things that bring them to a certain point. So Joshua and Caleb, when they went to spy out the land, so to speak, and they brought back stuff, fruit, pomegranates, figs, grapes, all that. I think it's a type and shadow, obviously, of things that they would pursue. But it didn't exempt, just because they seen the promised land and all that stuff was good, it didn't exempt the fact that they were going to have to fight battles to get there or to take over Jericho. They actually didn't have to physically fight the battles like that for the walls to fall down. They didn't have to scale walls and all that. They had to just be obedient. And as they marched around, the walls began to fall. We're going to grab those out and hope they're done so you guys can see. And hopefully they taste good. They look good, don't they? So,
can we see that okay?
Yee-hoo. I bet they're hot. I'm just going to slip one up. Well, let's do a couple so it looks pretty. Basically, when they cool down, we're going to have some yumminess, and we're going to just dip it in that. And hopefully,
Such an easy recipe to have
David
a little
and Ron, who
yeah,
are recording, are going to be able to enjoy some of
yeah,
these.
really quick appetizers for
Yes.
football season.
And it's not a lot of carbs.
No,
There's very, very few carbs, very few. Anyways, that ends our podcast today. I hope you've got something that you enjoyed. Have a great day on purpose.